Welcome to the What Now podcast, where we document our journey through chiropractic. Our goal is to give you, the new chiropractor, our firsthand experience in running a principled, cash-based practice right out of school. Join us as we bring you real perspective, lessons learned, and the leading names in the profession as we build the practices of our dreams. Yo, everybody. What is up? Welcome back to another episode of the You Already Know What Now podcast with your boys in the DoloCast booth. What's up, everybody? Spencer and Zach back in action after an awesome recharging Labor Day weekend.
Oh,
Zach, what's up, bro?
yeah. What's up, man? Back in the booth.
That's right. What
Feeling
it do?
good. Feeling well rested. I know it's not what we're talking about today, but a little strange. First 3-day weekend going into my CEO day, and it feels a little strange. Getting used to it. I feel like we were talking right before how like Tuesdays are when we record, but it's also my CEO day when I have meetings and I don't really see patients during this day, and it feels like I should have. There's like the voice me. It's like you should have scheduled time to see patients from 3 to 5 since you were closed all day Monday. But I'm like, no, like there's a lot of stuff that I can get done to better the business, and yeah, so that's been fun to wrestle with today.
Yeah, real quick to give everybody some context. Tell everybody like what your weekly schedule looks like.
So Mondays, I'm in the office seeing patients from 8 to 12, 3 to 6. Tuesdays are jam-packed, but I'm not seeing... Well, take that back. I see select patients I see like 2 or 3 patients that are in my Tuesday networking group that they drive to Colleyville that day, and that's really the only time they're there. They're already on wellness, so I see them right after the meeting, and then I typically close up the office around 2, head home, and then I write up emails or whatever might be on the to-do list. I do not go home and take a nap or like sit around and do nothing. That is not what a CEO day is for. Then Wednesdays, seeing patients 9 to 12, 3 to 6. Thursdays, seeing patients 8 to 12, 3 to 6. And then Friday, patients 9 to 1.
Nice.
Yeah. What about you?
So Mondays we see patients 10 to 1, 3 to 6. Tuesdays, Tuesdays are my admin days, so I do a little bit of different things on Tuesdays than I do on my CEO day. So Tuesdays, I meet for my men's discipleship group 6:30 to 7:30, work out 8:30, or work out like 8 o'clock ish to 9 o'clock, and then 9 o'clock I write our weekly newsletter, and I go over the performance of last week's newsletter, just kind of check in with my metrics and stuff and see how I can improve on those things. Tuesday mornings are a big morning where I like try to take in content, where I'm like listening to a book or I'm listening to a podcast or those kind of things, get some tangible access, like tangible things to do, some actionable steps. Then I write the newsletter, and then after I write the newsletter, I get on this and we record. And then I eat lunch at 11, and I work on whatever tangible, actionable steps that I came up with then in the morning. And then I prep for our weekly meeting, which is at 1 o'clock. And it's really more like 1:15 now for the next couple months because we have an intensive that just started, and we're going to see her at 1 o'clock on Tuesdays when nobody's in the office.
Nice.
They live right behind the office, so they're just going to walk over. So cool. We'll see her, and then we'll start the meeting right around 1:15, and then we prep for the rest of the week. And the big thing that I do, like in that prep, is I go over like financials with my bookkeeper every time. Like we'll go through statements, and we'll say like, hey, like what is this for? What is that for? We're like planning on like finances and stuff later on. So I do a lot of that stuff. At the beginning of the month, it's a lot heavier. And then Wednesdays, I network from 8 to 9. And then from 9 to 10, I'll, just like you, I see all of our people from the networking group from 9 to 10, just because they're there. And the networking meeting is in the same building as our office. So they literally they just walk over and they're already there. There's no reason for them to, wait another 2 hours or anything like that to get going. And then we'll, 10 to 1, 3 to 6 again. And then Thursdays, same thing. 10 to 1, 3 to 6, except more recently I've been taking the 12 to 1 hour off and letting Caitlin run the show in the office so I can be on the Wealthy Practitioner Mastermind calls.
Nice.
And then Fridays are my CEO days where I'm getting to like my deep work stuff where I'm saying like, okay, like what are our roadblocks and how are we getting into that? And then I'm doing a lot of networking, which is kind of what we're going to talk a little bit more about today, where I'll work from 10 to 1 on my business on like those deep work times, or again, that 4-hour block, uninterrupted, no notifications. Caitlin goes off somewhere else and she's doing whatever she's doing. And I'm in the office working, getting in my deep work grind, no interruptions, no phones, no emails, nothing. And then around 2 o'clock, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock or so, I'll meet for like a networking lunch, or in the morning before that 10 o'clock, I'll meet for like a coffee or something like that. And then I'm working out each day too. So that's
Nice.
kind of what our weeks look like. But yeah, I think one of the biggest things that has built both of our businesses that are super important that as we have been growing, we've had to actually schedule time to do is networking
Right.
and building relationships. So that's what we're going to talk about today. So tell everybody kind of what are the things you're doing to continue to build your relationships.
Yeah, so I think, before talking about what I'm doing to move forward, I think kind of what I've been doing. And if you listen to earlier episodes, Spencer and I were both, especially me, I found a lot of success early on in BNI, so Business Networkers International, which is still to this day like one of the best networking meetings I've found because of the structure of it. It really incentivizes referrals and getting to know the people in your network. And it's also, if you can get into a group, it's somewhat nice. I don't really like the scarcity mindset of it, but it's also nice that there's typically only one person per category. So like there's only one chiropractor, there's only one realtor, those type of things. So I was in BNI. I did a lot of chamber events, so Chamber of Commerce, where they would host coffee hours or power hours or happy hours, like a bunch of hour stuff. And that was, creating relations with people, handing out business cards, taking in business cards, shuffling through all those business cards. And there was a lot of fruit in that, in showing up consistent. That's going to be something I think Spencer and I hit on with networking, is how important it is to be consistent. It's one thing to just show up once and get a bunch of business cards and then be like, none of these people turned into patients. It's like, well, you didn't build a relationship with them. And so Chamber of Commerce. And so I've really been doing that for the last 2 years. That's really been my networking. And that's been really fruitful because I've gotten really close with some amazing people. However, a lot of those people are not seeing or interacting with my ideal patients or clients each and every day. Right. So yes, I have a great relationship with a realtor or with an insurance agent or whoever it might be, but they're not seeing people with similar cases that I am. And that's been a big shift for me over the last 3 months, especially going through the 90-day sprint, is interacting and collaborating and really finding people with ideal missions, ideal visions, methodologies, and in this same practice, seeing our ideal clients. That way, the biggest reason was so that I can refer our patients, right? As much as chiropractic is the end all be all, we're also not, right? So there's a lot of things that we can't necessarily help with, or we can, but we can't get them to that 100% that they're looking for. And there's practitioners that can. So that's been a big focus of mine. Really, if you listen to the past couple episodes, you've heard me mention our quarterly rocks, where I'm really focusing on 4 to 5 key things to move the business forward. And one of those quarterly rocks is meeting and interacting with 9 strategic partnerships, is what we're calling them. And so like today I met with a personal trainer, but not like your typical personal trainer. He owns his own gym. They're very niche based down into functional patterning and working with golfers and baseball players. And so that's been a big focus of mine, is to meet with those 9 people and not just meet with them once, but really start to build that relationship so that they, one, feel more comfortable referring to us, and I feel a lot more comfortable referring to them.
Yeah, I think that's such a big thing. Like the last part that you just touched on is being comfortable referring to them, because the last thing that you want is to, like, people who love you especially are going to be the ones who are going to follow your referrals. Like typically you're not going to make a referral to somebody who just started in your practice and all that stuff. Usually it's people who you have rapport with that are like, hey, look, like, I'm being honest with you. I think to take yourself to the next step is, X, Y, and Z.
Acupuncture, yeah.
Yeah, whatever. You should get a massage, or you should get a fit, whatever. Um, and I also don't think that chiropractic is the end all be all, like for all people, but I think it's for everyone, it's the place to start. I
Hmm.
don't ever think like I think that chiropractic is it's like your meat and potatoes. Like exercise, nutrition, and chiropractic care is like the three pillars that build your health pyramid. Like it's the framework for it.
Hmm.
Everything else inside of it is like extra on
Right.
top.
Right.
And it's because I tell people in this is like how I actually go about talking about like in networking stuff too. Like, and I say like, chiropractic care is just like you have to look at the body just like a mechanic, right? You have to have the parts that work correctly. You have to have the fuel that runs the car, and you have to have a driver that knows how to drive it.
Hmm.
And a lot of chiropractors will go out and give the analogy of we're going to be the ones to fix the parts. And that's, I think, in my mind, the
So wrong.
farthest from the fact, right? And that's like, I mean, yeah, if you're doing rehab and you're doing like, if you're a rehab chiro and a modality chiro, then yeah, you probably are working more on the parts.
Hmm.
Whereas if like for Zach and I in our practices, we're really nervous system focused. And so
Hmm.
we're the ones really prepping the driver, right? Because you can have the best car in the world, you can have the cleanest fuel in the like possible in it, but if you don't know how to turn the car on or you don't know how to steer the car, then it it's useless, right?
Hmm.
It's like putting a 4-year-old behind an NASCAR like
Yeah.
car, right?
Right.
Um, and so that's the my voice is cracked, dang.
Puberty,
Um,
man.
I know,
Puberty. 23 is
getting
tough.
old. But yeah, that's the kind of analogy that I kind of give it to. So I think that chiropractic is like the foundation, and that's a big conversation that I have around all of the relationships. And I think it's the same in our business. You have to have system and processes, you have to have marketing, and you have to have good relationships. You have to have the influx of patients, right? And getting good relationships, it's like a thing that fuels your marketing flywheel. And I think that Tony with PX and stuff does a really great job of like depicting like
Hmm.
what do these flywheels look like and how do they all feed into each other.
Right.
um but anyway, before I get too far off, yeah, I think that's really important, like the consistency to show up. Like at my men's group this morning, we do like a big like community men's group. They always talk about like iron sharpens iron.
Hmm.
But like for you to be sharpened, you have to show up. You have to be
Yeah.
around other people. You have to consistently be there, right?
Yep.
Because the fewer times you're sharpened, the duller you get. And
Hmm.
so for us to continually show up to places, that's where true relationships get built. Whenever you just show up, you're like, oh, okay, like sure, I just showed face. But it's really when you show up consistently and your face is always around, that's when people really start to know you and know who you are and know what you do.
Hmm. And I think too, like with that is there's power in consistency. We say the same thing to our patients, right? I mean, I'm sure we can all relate whether you're rehab chiro or nervous system focused or functional medicine, whatever like your focus might be, in order to like truly have those results. Whether you're taking supplements, whether you're getting adjusted, whether you're getting some ultrasound, you got to be consistent, right? You can't just show up haphazardly once every 6 weeks and kind of hope for the best. You might get a little bit, right? You might get your cup filled for a second, but it's quickly forgotten. And that's why I love that consistency portion. Um, and so with that, I think it'd be because I know for me, one thing I struggled with is like my two biggest kind of inputs, if you will, that I'm around daily really are you, and then Hannah and Morgan over at Alpha and Omega Chiropractic, right? And both are very similar practices, pediatric prenatal focused. And so talking and hearing you guys talk about like lactation consultants and doulas and midwives and OBs, like those type of relations, I know for me, I struggled to kind of think of the right strategic partners. But I'm curious first for you, like who are you outside of just your weekly networking group? Like who are you and Caitlin looking to right now to really create relationships with?
Yeah, I think it's funny that you say like your two biggest inputs, like the voices that you hear are like me and Morgan and Hannah, is because like, and like we're prenatal peds. Like my two biggest inputs, like the people who I talk most about my practice with is probably you. And then the physical therapist that we work with who is like really sports focused. And so
That
I
is
think
pretty
that's
funny.
kind of funny is
Yeah.
like we live in different worlds, but like that's the people who we talk to. But
Yeah.
yeah, we talk a lot about that. But anybody like The way that I show up in the networking group is like I really want to be there to support everyone else. Like I'm trying to like really support our business because I love whenever people are like, you know what, I choose small business. Like you mean you can go to a franchise practice and you can go to those things, but it really matters like whenever you actually show up and support small business. And the reason that we opened up in Argyle is because like I truly love Argyle. Like I love the town.
Mm-hmm.
I love the people. I love the culture here. I love the support that the community gives. And so
It's
I
really
show
cool.
up to these networking groups and I show up to we have like an impromptu chamber. Like Argyle doesn't actually have like an actual chamber. We just have another networking group that meets quarterly.
Mm-hmm.
And that's considered like our chamber. There's no single seats. And then we also have a single seat networking group that turned into, now it's 51 people. But I show up there because I want to like support the community and I want to get to know everybody there.
Mm-hmm.
But now that our practice is busier and until I can pull out of the practice some more, I really focused in my time for networking, and the lunches that I have like are super valuable.
Mm-hmm.
And I want those to be really fruitful, not only for my business, but for their business, for our practice members. And I want it to be a tangible relationship that's actually like going to go somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Right. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
I can meet all these kind of people and I can do all these things and I love to support their business. Like I love knowing my insurance agent because I can help my practice members do that. I love knowing our roofer and our electrician because I can
Mm-hmm.
help all those people. But for us to sit down one-on-one weekly and like really look at those, like I'll throw
Mm-hmm.
in a lunch here and there when I have extra time, but it's like for my scheduled meetings, I really want to focus on who I'm seeing. And so
Mm-hmm.
that's anybody for us in the prenatal peds space that sees moms and kids. So if like your ideal clientele is services women
Mm-hmm.
or services kids in any capacity, those are people who we want to talk to. And I think that as like other healthcare providers, we get really focused on, hey, what other healthcare providers can I network with? But there are tons of other opportunities that are out there that you can go and meet other people like
Mm-hmm.
that take care of your ideal clients that don't necessarily have to be providers. Like we have a nanny service that we work with all the time, and like they tell a ton of people about us.
Right.
Um, but the majority of people, I guess, yeah, that we do meet with is providers. But we really like we have a mom's fitness group that we work with. It's called Fit for Mom.
Mm-hmm.
Birth center is a big one. Caitlin's been doing talks at the birth center for their fitness stuff, and that's been really great to build relationships with the midwives and the doulas and the lactation consultants. Lactation consultant is a big one because we do a lot of like tongue tie, lip tie, breastfeeding issues, spit up reflux, those kind of things. There's apparently an ENT that's like really awesome with chiropractors and is telling everybody that they need
Mm-hmm.
to send their kids to the chiropractor. So I need to meet with them. That's like a big one. Um, Dentist, pediatric dentist is a big one for us. Massage therapist, estheticians are also great because our ideal clientele loves to get facials
Mm-hmm.
and take care of themselves, and so they're somebody that we love to work with. I'm also today I'm meeting with a personal trainer, but like a niche personal trainer who specializes in postpartum recovery
Mm-hmm.
and pelvic floor. That's really cool.
Yeah.
So we're really involved with that. Dietitian is a big one. Women's functional med is a big one. OBGYN, that's a big one. And physical therapists and other chiropractors, honestly,
Mm-hmm.
because we have been really focused on like, hey, let's just be good at what we're good at, and we're going to let everybody else be good at what they're going to do.
Mm-hmm.
And we were hanging out this weekend. I think that's an important conversation for us to have too, when it talks about building relationships, is the ability to say like, hey, this is what I'm good at, and this is what you're good at. How do we work together?
Yep. Yep. I think it was, I think one, too, like if you're a student or just starting out, like, and you're more pediatric prenatal, definitely go back and write all those down because I think that's super valuable. Just the different ideas that you could already have. Because I mean, it's pretty obvious. Like, okay, pediatric prenatal probably going to be an OB or doula, meeting with them, but like thinking of the esthetician or the nanny service, right? Those are like
Hairstylist is a big one,
right? Like super niche or super creative in that idea that for most of us you don't think of till 3, 5, 10 years into it. And so I think that was really valuable for you to share. But then also, can you share a little bit too about how you go about having those conversations, like when you're sitting down one-on-one with them, like the questions you're asking or kind of the flow that you at least try to stick to?
Yeah, I mean, the reason that we've been like super interested in building more relationships is because we are starting a wellness club for our practice members. So
Mm-hmm.
anybody who's under our wellness care is going to get access to our free wellness club events. It's exclusive to our wellness people. So you have to be on a family wellness plan, and then there's also going to be limited spots for that for those events. And so
Mm-hmm.
we're going to do one of those a month, or at least try to, and that's the tough part is you have to find 12 things to do and you have to have 12 businesses to work
Yeah.
with. So really the big incentive for me right now is to find vendors and find partners that are also valuable for our people because like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I mean, could I bring in like, I don't know, could I get like a discount like at the tire shop or something like that? I mean, yeah, that'd be cool, which actually that might actually be a good idea.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's just finding people who I know deliver high quality service or products to our people. Like if I'm not going to use them myself, then I'm not going to send them in front of my people, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so the big angle that I'm taking it at, and really the whole intention for me to build these relationships in this phase of our business is to say, hey, I'm looking to build partners for our wellness club.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking for people to put in front of my practice. Would you be
Right.
interested in doing that? And, you know, some people say yes, some people say no, right? There's like this one pediatrician who we've been trying to get in with, and they're just like, nah, we don't have time for you. And so that's my I don't even know what to call it, but that's
Mm-hmm.
my like white whale is to try to get the pediatrician on board with us. But
Right.
so I've been doing that, and so like we're gonna try to offer a fitness club and a workout club, and then maybe like a breastfeeding course or those kind of things. Like we're
Mm-hmm.
gonna do hey, we're gonna buy 6 facials, and the first 6 people to show up do those kind of things. So the way that I'm going about it is one, I'm trying to figure out what are your values. That's the biggest thing that I'm trying to figure out is like who are you as the business owner, and what does your
Yeah.
company stand for?
Right.
And because I'm trying to just make sure that our values, like to where empower and their business fit because I don't want people to be like, oh yeah, my values is make a lot of money, take advantage of people, and be an awful boss. Like I don't want
Mm-hmm.
that to be their thing.
Right.
I'm ideally looking for like faith-based Christian owners,
Mm-hmm.
looking for people who you got to value holistic lifestyle. Like that's the big one is like, we're never going to partner with something that like where people are going to give like fragrance and endocrine disrupting products
Yeah.
to our people. Like even if it's free, like if they're like, hey, I'm giving you a year's worth of perfume, I'm not going to give that to my
Yeah.
practice members. That'd be great if they do. Like it could be Gucci perfume or
Right.
whatever it is.
Right.
But I'm never going to give that to my people because it goes against our holistic values.
Mm-hmm.
And then they also have to just be interested. They have to be growth mindset. They have to be partner driven, right? So I'm just
Mm-hmm.
trying to feel out like, what do you do? What are your values? And is this a relationship where it can, do I like you really?
Right. Right. I think that's really big too. Is like, are they growth minded? Are they? Because I know one thing I have found, like, just to like run into is, especially like in Colleyville, a little bit more of an established city, if you will, is some of the people that you meet, and this is why it's a weekly or monthly thing that you got to be doing. Is like, not everyone you meet is going to be the right fit, and so if they're like, yeah, I'm pretty content, like you can send people, but they're gonna have to wait 6 to 8 weeks to see me, or I'm not very efficient at getting back. It's like, okay, well, I'm not gonna refer my patients who trust me a ton to someone that's going to be like, yeah, you can come in 8 weeks. It's like kind of, if it's a week, yeah, great, 2 weeks. But like, man, I gotta wait that long. This seems like a pretty serious issue. Or they're just like, yeah, I'm just kind of floating around, figuring it out. It's like, all right, that's not necessarily someone I want to be sending my way. And I think too, like remembering myself saying that and like, what is that reflecting back? Like, how easy is it for this person? That's something I've kind of been running into and just like thinking of like, how can I make it easier for this person to refer our way? Like, how can we like create a specific like referral pad for them or like a VIP card? Because for some people, they like want to know like if they're sending their people our way that they're going to get the same experience that they would at their own office, which is like that white glove service. And it's like, okay, well, we take care of everyone that way, but let's figure out a way to kind of make it known to you that your people are going to be well taken care of.
Yeah, I mean, I think like with the whole like law of reciprocity thing is that the more that you ask people about them and their business, the more they're going to feel inclined to tell you about like or ask you about your business. Like I think a lot of people go into networking and they're like, I'm Dr. Spencer and I'm the best chiro and this is why you need to refer all of your kids to me. It's not that. I literally ask, like, tell me about your business, tell me about you, tell me how you got
Hmm.
started. What are your goals and how do I support you toward that? And I
Yeah.
literally ask people, how can I send my people to you?
Hmm.
And they'll say, like, oh, well, the best way to do that is this and this and this. I said, yeah, but why should I send my people to you? Like, what are you looking for? Who do you take care of well?
Hmm.
And what really lights you up? Because if I send you the wrong people, then one, my people are going to have a bad experience, but two, you're going to get overloaded with work. And that's
Hmm.
going to give you a worse experience at work. And that's, you're not going to show up as yourself. So, how can what do I need to be looking out for that lets me refer to you? And then
Hmm.
people will ask the same questions,
And
right?
it's amazing. I mean, just like the way the reticular activating system works is like, typically if someone is like, yeah, we work really well with hormone issues, I'm like, oh great. Like I go into report of findings or progress exams, I'm like, oh, this seems like it could be a hormone issue, like let's refer you that way. And I think that's the power of consistency again, is like you're consistently putting your message out there and you're consistently hearing from other people that attunes you and your brain and your nervous system to refer more and receive more referrals, because that message is in the back of their head.
Yeah, I think that like the biggest thing whenever you can look a patient in the eye and say like, "Hey, I'm going to refer you." It shows
Hmm.
a lot of humility and it really shows a lot of consideration for you not to be like the chiropractic is the end all be all thing, like for
Hmm.
everything. And I'm the answer to all of your problems, because that puts you up on like this big pedestal. And if you don't live up to that, then like you actually just destroy all of your credibility.
Hmm.
And so the way that I go about it is I'll say, hey, I know that we're working on these kind of things. And I know your goals are to, balance your hormones and to add 30 yards to your drive and those kind of things. And what I'll say, and then I'll give the car analogy. Your body
Hmm.
works kind of like a car. You have to have the right parts, the right fuel, and you have to have the right kind of driver. If you don't know how to drive your car, the parts don't work, and you don't have any fuel to get it running, it's never going to work. And so, what we're going to do is we're going to start with this chiropractic plan, because I think this is programming your brain to your body so you can actually know how to drive the car. If we
Hmm.
throw all these extra therapies on top right now, it's going to be really overwhelming for your nervous system. And right now, and that's what we're dealing with all together, as we see with your scan. So let's get your foundation set. Let's get
Hmm.
everything working up to baseline. And then after we're done, and when I think it's appropriate, what we're going to do is I have this amazing functional medicine hormone nurse practitioner. She specializes in hormones and everything. And then I also have a great physical therapist that
Hmm.
works with golfers. And so what we're going to do is I'm going to make that introduction for you when I feel the time is appropriate. But right now, let's get your body back on track.
Yeah. And I think,
And but then it's actually following through with that.
hmm yeah, the follow through is huge too. Um, like I know I was meeting with a DO whose wife is like a Reiki specialist, and I don't know much about Reiki and like kind of what that entails. But I've had a patient that's been asking for like 4 or 5 months, like, hey, like if you ever come across a Reiki specialist, like please let me know. Like I trust you, like your discernment. I don't just want to go to anybody. And I finally found someone. Um, and I was letting her know, I'm like, hey, I have this meeting on Friday. If it goes well, I'll refer you that way. And meeting went great. And I immediately sent that referral over, and she couldn't be happier. Right. But I could have like just not had that follow up, that follow through. Um, and that keeps trust going. But I think too, going back to your point, I don't know why I thought of this. Um, but when you're like, hey, we're going to set the foundation and then we'll start adding these other things. If you're a Christian, you'll probably understand, like, if you're a new believer, like the church or your pastor or like your friend, hopefully is not going to be like, hey, let's start you in Revelation and then let's go into uh, Numbers and then we're going to finally get into like the gospel. Like, it's like, no, like, let's start with John, kind of digest John, and then we'll start maybe in Psalms. But it's like, we're not going to just start in the deep end and throw everything at you, where you have even more questions and leave you dazed and confused. Let's start with just a nice easy foundation, get things set up, and then we can start expanding from there. And that really made me think too. One of the and that's still something I say to patients all the time, and really both from a business standpoint, but then also from a uh, practical and clinical standpoint. Dr. Lance von Stade always taught, from a foundation chiropractic and like movement standpoint, it's more important to have proximal stability before you work on your uh, proximal mobility, or no, distal mobility.
Distal mobility.
Yeah. And so it's like, let's work on being stable interiorly and then working out from there. And again, it's that same above, down, inside out approach. But really keeping that pinpointed in for patients is gonna, for me and what I feel is gonna serve them best.
Yeah, I mean, I think that that's the biggest thing too, is like it's above, down, inside out, right? So you have to start with like, okay, like what's my like, okay, do you have the same values as us and do you serve the same people as us? That's like above, right? Down is saying like, okay, what am I doing? Inside is this an actual attainable thing? And then out is like, let's actually make the referral. I think if we go about everything really with like the whole holistic premise that, you know, life and health and healing happens from above, down, inside out. I think business happens the same way, right? It happens from the top leadership down through your management, inside in your day to day, and out through your marketing and your reputation, right? That's how you grow your business. And so it all starts really from the top, which is you, right? And so if you're not going out there setting the standard, if you're not building good relationships, then how are you going to build good relationships like inside, right? But I think like from networking, you really have to come from a place of, instead of saying like, how do I go and build this relationship for me to get referrals? It's how do I go and find a referral outlet for my people? And I think the referrals to you just come naturally. Like we refer a ton of people to this occupational therapist. They refer a ton of them back. And so we actually co-manage a lot of kids with sensory issues. And the parents come to us with a ton of confidence, and our families go to them with a ton of confidence because we've built them up so much, but we have such a good relationship that we know exactly what things are going, and we only make the referrals that we know are a good fit, instead of just being like, oh, I guess I'm gonna just refer you just to refer you.
Right. And I think that's also super important, is like, don't just refer to refer, like get to know the people and make sure they're going to the right place.
Yeah. Okay. To kind of wrap up real quick, how long do you feel like this like building a relationship process typically is for you? Like how?
I mean, I'm still just starting, so I don't know if I've necessarily like even begun to see the fruit. Like I'm still laying that foundation. I'm still in my my active care plan, if you will. Going out 2 to 3 times a week and really meeting these people. In regards to like strategic partnerships. But even then, like with like BNI or the chamber stuff, it can take 2 to 3 months of that consistent showing up to really build those relationships and develop that trust and that defined message of like, this is who I can help with before really starting to see the fruit. And so I think I don't know strategic partnership wise. I mean, sometimes it's as easy as like one meeting or like one trial. I think that's also something I value coming back from like my strength and conditioning days. Like I'll never ask you to go do something unless I've tried it myself. Now I haven't tried like everything, and I don't plan to try everything, but at least like going through people's exams or like their process too, to kind of get a feel. That way you can better refer. And
paying for it.
Yeah. And so I think that's like something super important to really go about, not just like trading services and that kind of thing. But
I think that's a big thing that people ask like way too soon, is like, if you build a relationship with a massage therapist, is you just be like, want to trade? Like straight up, right? It's like, one, you don't know if you like them. Two, they don't know if they like you. And like, so why would you get in this like relationship where it's like a give, like where you both are indebted to each other? It's like, just pay for their services, because it's telling you like, one, I value your business. Two, I value you. And three, I respect you enough to actually pay for your services, the full price. And unless they offer, like if they say, hey, I'm going to give you a discount. Hey, I'm going to whatever. Don't turn down their generosity. But at the same time, it's like I'm going to pay for your stuff. I think for me too is kind of the same. Like in our networking group, I think it was 8 months before anybody asked me anything about like, hey, could you help me? Maybe.
Yeah. I think too, like it's like, again, that trust factor, but being on the younger side, I think a lot of people, one, just want to see, like, I mean, I'd meet with people and they'd be like, I'll be surprised if you're still here in 6 months. Like, just being open. And so I think they also kind of want to see like, hey, we've been established for 12, 15 years. Like, I want to make sure you can build up some clout, if you will, some street cred.
Yeah, and then with the strategic partnerships, those are, I think that's a good one. Like there are business relationships, and then there are strategic partnerships.
Yeah.
Your business relationships are like all the other businesses that you know, like the car shop and all those stuff. Strategic partnerships are people who you like directly collaborate and put your people in front of. that complement your business. I think that's a really good distinction.
Yeah.
But for strategic partnerships, what I'll definitely do is I'll usually try to get lunch or coffee or something like that. And then in a week or two, try to follow up and either invite them in for a free scan for themselves, or I'll bring, if we're already seeing mutual cases, I'll bring over like the scans or something like that and show them like, hey, these are all the things that we're doing for kids who we could be referring to you. This is what's happening. When in this timeline is it appropriate for me to send them to you?
Yeah.
And then after that, just continually doing the same thing. Like, hey, I just brought you the scans. It was so cool. Let's just chat some more, get some coffee.
Yeah.
And then I'll just kind of alternate like back and forth, like between those kind of things.
Yep. I think that's a really good wrap up, is to follow up, right? And to stay consistent. Don't badger them. Don't be like constantly beating down the doors. Hey, when are you going to send me referrals? Or whatever. But like just showing up. Another big thing, I don't know, it's kind of Steph's thing, so I don't want to give out too much of her information nowadays. But
sign up for the Wealthy Practitioner. Use code WhatNow10 for for no discount. We are in no way partnered with the Wealthy Practitioner yet, but maybe Steph, if you're listening to this and you want to sponsor us,
I know,
strategic partnership. We have your ideal clientele. So,
but yeah, just being engaged, like Spencer talked about. I mean, going all the way back, I think we both do a good job of this, but the most interesting person in the room is always the one that's most interested. And so really doing your best to ask them questions and listen to their goals and how they serve patients. That way you're interested and you get to know more, and not just explaining everything you do as a chiropractor. That's a great way to have an awful one-to-one.
Yeah. And you sit down and you're like, did you know that innate intelligence flows through every living cell in the body?
Yeah.
The subluxation is a condition of a vertebra. That's also proper juxtaposition with one above, the one below.
Yeah.
And don't be that guy. But anyway, be that guy and listen to the What Now podcast. Share the show with a friend. If you're an intern, start networking now. Build some clout and get through your awkward phase because it's going to happen no matter what.
Yep.
But thanks so much for listening to this episode of the What Now podcast, guys. Peace. Thanks so much for listening to this episode of the What Now podcast. If you took something valuable away, feel free to share it with a friend, post it on your socials, or give us a 5-star review. We'll see y'all next time. Peace.